You can't miss that one. That is an absolute beautiful car. And as we get ready for our 1 hour endurance race, you've missed nothing. They are underway, but I've been joined by David Hinton from HSR. He's been in the booth many a time before, but I know enjoys this kind of racing. You can't beat this. Production cars, I mean, talk about race on Sunday, buy on Monday. But this is great. Real door-to-door stuff with minis, alphas, you name it.
They're already starting to battle out there. The minis are all prepared pretty much by Don Racine, who owns Mini Mania. And I think Don's rented 4 or 5 of these cars to competitors. So I think Don himself is in car 177, the red Mini with the white roof, just got passed by the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, and this is always a special race here at Saloon Cars, and we're keeping in the spirit of what we've been saying all along, which is to name each and every group after one of the great drivers. And so this Saloon Car Trophy Race Endurance is after Dan Gurney. And seems somewhat appropriate because Dan pretty much did everything from Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, Can-Am, you name it, Trans Am even. And he was one of the first of 3 drivers to win a race in each of those series, and so we honor his great name. David Hinton joins me. John Doonan, of the CEO of IMSA is also here. We were expecting you earlier because everybody said, oh, he wants to talk about this. He doesn't want to talk about IMSA, he wants to talk about the older cars. But welcome. Great to have you here. So why did you avoid the IMSA and wanted to talk about some of the older cars?
Well, to be honest, every car here, it's hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah.
So much history, of course, from all eras of our sport. And I have a big appreciation for these exact cars, because this is what my dad spent most of his time running. In fact, the 63 car, one of the minis from that Don Racine and the boys bring, was originally driven by a guy named Bill Peterman, who raced against my dad in the Midwest at Blackhawk Farms, Road America, places like that. So I have a lot of boyhood memories of these exact cars right here.
Well, while I've got a moment, congratulations. IMSA going from strength to strength at the moment. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a stronger field of drivers or manufacturers ever.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We're super proud of where the entire sport is at the moment. To your point, 18 manufacturers choose to race with us in IMSA. We have the top category back like never before. There's more coming, I can tell you that. There's more manufacturers coming, so we have a lot more to look forward to. But you know, Road America are 7 of 8 races, record fan attendance. The racing's been spectacular. We just want to keep it going. We're really proud of where we're at.
I only noticed the depth of the amount of IMSA drivers that had to make the decision at Brazil the last round, because you guys were racing then, as to what to do. But it just shows you world class everywhere you look, and it's great.
Yeah, the competition level, and you know, David comes to several of our races throughout the year as a true fan, and the level of competition right now is, I'm not sure we've ever seen it like this. Best drivers in the world are coming every weekend, and they're putting on incredible shows.
And John, your take on 50 years of doing this. Steve Earle will be pretty proud of what he created in '74, wouldn't he?
Yes, big time. And you know, we're so proud with our HSR group to have the opportunity to operate this event on behalf of all the racers, on behalf of Rolex, and certainly on behalf of everybody at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
I was just saying earlier, Scott Pruitt was up here, and I was saying what an exciting time just for racing in America, full stop. Yes, we celebrate 50 years, but the present is really a golden era too. Formula One coming back like nobody's business. You've got WEC next week, or 2 weeks' time in COTA. So World Championships coming, Indy at its strongest for a long time as well. Exciting days.
Absolutely. I mean, to go to an IMSA race these days is just fantastic. Not only what you're seeing on the track, but the stuff going in the paddock, the manufacturer's vendor row. I mean, it's just stacked with one manufacturer after the other. It's a really, really great weekend for the family to come out to an IMSA race. And also to an HSR race.
There you go. Well, we've had some drama today and yesterday in practice. We've had Formula One cars smashed up. We had one of the top cars go off track in the last event as well. Hopefully these guys will all keep to it, but it tends to be door to door in this saloon car racing.
Yeah, so Andrew Waite's out front right now in his little Mini, and his co-driver is Danny Baker. And I think Danny won the Formula Ford race earlier on this afternoon.
Yes, he did.
Danny's a great driver. He races a McLaren F1 car, but he gets in anything. If someone asks him to drive, he's in it.
And the beauty of this is, as you'll see, some guys do this 1 hour on their own. Others will come in, but you do have to take a pit stop. So everybody's got to do that. So tactically, everybody's looking for that opportunity as to when is the best time to pit.
Yep, so the pit window opens at 25 minutes.
Yep.
And closes at 35 minutes.
So you've got to get in between there. But
yep. And then it's a 3-minute mandatory stop. So the pit timing starts when they enter pit lane, and it ends when they leave pit lane. So if they need to refuel, they have enough time to do a quick driver change. I see Jenson Button and Maz Fawaz has moved up to 8th place.
Get into the spirit. He's decided to keep going now. I saw him down on the entry list, and I was like, well, he's giving it a good go.
Yeah,
yeah, I wanted to come up and do Jenson's race in the C-type. We got to work together on the Garage 56 project where we took the NASCAR stock car to Le Mans last year. What a gentleman, what a pleasure, what a talent. So really excited to see him celebrating history as well, not only with the C-type, but with the Alpha that he and Maz got and are having a blast.
And I don't think it's too far a stretch from an American point of view to say that Jenson Button, if he were in the era of, I don't know, Jim Clark, if he were in the era of Jackie Stewart, he fits right in there as a guy who holds his own but is a gentleman in every way. Sterling Moss, who of course made a huge impact in America. But he seems to me anyway the same kind of ilk, and that's hard to do in modern day.
Yeah, I can say from firsthand experience he is the penultimate professional, highly well-spoken, and then does all of his talking on the racetrack with his right foot.
Oh no question about it. He took his C-type Jaguar out earlier today. Looked like he was having fun. He was wheeling it hard, that's for sure. He was putting a bit of Fangio opposite lock-in. Oh, I got a right muddle of BMWs, Cortinas, Minis, Alphas. It's a great list, and we've got, 35 cars out here. I saw one of the Minis retire. But right now it is still Andrew Waite and Danny Baker's number 62 leading the way. That 65 Mini Cooper. It still astounds me to watch Minis race, that it's possible even, with those tiny tyres and that tiny chassis. And yet, I can't think of anything more fun to race.
No, it seems like the rear of the car just follows the front wheels wherever they go.
Yep.
These Minis are all 1275cc, 4-speed gearboxes. I think they must strip them out pretty good because they sure move down the straights.
Yeah, and I was amazed talking to Don Racine over the years, watching these guys race here, just how many Minis, for a Brit coming here. I mean, that was the normal car, down the grocery store, and yet, there's a parked up Mini. But there are so many who now race in club racing here in the States. Let's hope that doesn't bring out a caution. Couldn't see the number on it.
That was Ian Fitzsimon and Horatio.
Oh
Fitzsimon,
no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah, one of the favorites here,
yeah.
Austin Cooper from '67. Yeah. Well, they've been part of this scene for a while too.
Yeah, Horatio's had some great races here over the last couple of years in the Land 26R. I think that the white BMW there is George Calfo, and I think that's the only. There's 2 4-door cars in this. Jim Huff in a teaser, and George in the teaser also. And George is just ahead of Jim, so they'll be having a good battle throughout this race.
Jonathan Fiber out there, also in the number 2. He was out earlier this morning, and he's in the Ford Cortina. 63, whoop, slightly wide by the Alpha there. Yeah, we were talking about the repaving, and obviously nobody unhappy about a few of the bumps that have disappeared from Laguna. As we take a look at the 18 Mini of Kyle Breslow. Still got the English number plate on. Car raced extensively in Europe in the mid-60s, and all the way to 2018 in Europe before it came here, and brought over by Nick Swift in 2019 to get its technical passport in March 2019. So I'm sure that's a story that is played out many times. Most of these cars probably starting their racing in Europe and then coming over here.
Probably a lot of them were mum's shopping car and got converted into a race car.
Yeah, my mum used to have a little Spitfire that she used to take me to school in, with 2 Afghan hounds and me in the back, and it didn't have back seats, so that was always interesting.
Right.
Let myself out of that.
Yeah, there's the 63 Mini. Again, I grew up with that car. A gentleman named Bill Peterman drove it, and I love the fact that so many of these cars are not on display somewhere. They're actually on display on the racetrack. That warms my heart.
Oh, totally. And it just amazes me how popular now historic racing has become in the last 20 years or so. And you guys have watched this as I have and been part of it. And it's just, I find it really reassuring that everybody says, oh, electric car's going to replace the combustion. We still race horses, so there's no reason why this can't go on for quite some time. And the love, the passion that people get out of this, and you see a lot of youngsters coming to events like this, and it's heartwarming to see that people still get excited by this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when the Mazda wheels their cars out to do their morning warm-up, the crowd's phenomenal. They're all standing there recording it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that feeling's ever going to go away.
No, that's good. It's good news.
Well, and if you roll the clock back 50 years to this event in 1974, what were historic cars then, right? They were cars probably from the 30s, 40s, 50s, that type of thing. Now we're celebrating that next generation, and I always think about what will the IMSA cars of today and what will they be for the next generation, another 20 years down the road. And that's what HSR is all about, candidly, is making sure that we continue to celebrate history. And I want to be part of running IMSA programs now that make history later on for historic and vintage fans.
Well, as you know, Travis Engen in that Audi has created such a stir in the last few years with that storied car. I mean, like you say, when people go nuts, I think when it was originally racing, it took quite a fair few people to run that car, as it would most technical IMSA cars. But in historics, it's flying. I mean, it's probably got more wins now than it did when in the day.
And he actually has a log of how many miles are on that car.
Really?
Kilometers, should I say. And it's astounding. It's like hundreds of thousands of kilometers.
Wow.
So I'm just looking up the hill here from the booth, and they're hooking up
the yellow, yep.
Ian Fitzsimon's Mini to the back of the tow truck. So it looks like they're doing that with the local yellow. So hopefully we can get that car safely out of the way.
Well, we're trying to drift through as many of the cars as we can. We're obviously keeping up with the race itself, but we'll try to give you some background when we see it of some cars, or some good racing when we see it happening on track. And of course, like all the other groups, they get 2 chances at a race here during the weekend. So you want to kind of preserve it for the first day a little bit, as we take a look at the 17 of Chet and William Taylor in 1965 Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint, coming across the line now.
So you were talking about how your mother used to take you to school in a Triumph Spitfire?
Yep.
When I was about 12 years old, my family built the 2 Mercedes staff cars for the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, which actually were Jaguar Mark 5s and had E-type running gear. And my dad built 2 of them and had to take them down to Tunisia, where Raiders of the Lost Ark was filmed.
Wow.
Brought them back to Hinckley, Leicestershire after the movie, and about once a week he'd take me to school in a Mercedes staff car, and I'd ride in the back seat.
I bet you were popular.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
it's so great when you hear stories like that people don't realize the impact each of these cars had, and the character and the personality they all have. And those are special little tidbits that we have to capture them, because they're each of these cars has a special story.
Somebody going slightly wide, going up the hill at 6 there, but okay, I think. Yeah, the car you've been looking at, that number 17 of the Taylors, was converted to a race car from the Hooters original livery of the 80s. I actually prefer the nice clean lines it's got now, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what that means, the Hooters livery.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah, okay.
Good sponsor in motorsport. NASCAR?
Well, and you think of the Alphas especially, certainly the Datsun 510s that made such a storied history in SCCA Trans Am in the late 60s, early 70s. You know, the guys like Horst Queck and John Morton, those were cars that I, had posters of on my wall, and the races they had, especially here, the championship race for Trans Am in, I believe it was 70, 71, where it came down to Horst Queck and John Morton, and I think some bent up fenders, but here at WeatherTech Raceway, it's a place of great history as well, this track.
Well, there's the Kiwi flag on the 44, and I was just trying to work out if that is the Kiwi that was here last year racing, because we had a few Kiwis and Aussies coming over, as they often do.
So that's Rob Huff.
It's
Rob Fuller and
Rob Fuller and Greg Hoff, yeah.
So I think Greg Hoff and Rob Fuller raced Nissans in the Hurley Haywood group. I think they're in a 240Z. So they're another guys who rented a car from Don Racine, decided to join the saloon car race.
Perfect. Yeah, you'd have to. I mean, if you're going to make your way all the way over, and you want to get as much racing as possible, I suppose.
Yep.
I would. Just saw a quick glimpse of Jonathan Fiber in that Cortina from 63, just past him. Raced by Stig Blomqvist, of all people. Great rally man. Raced in the UK before coming here. The amount of travel these cars must do. So first, second and third now much closer than they were earlier. We haven't had, where are we into the race? Like you say, we're coming towards that point now. 5 minutes away. Leaders starting to come into the pits, so we're going to start to see the pit stops, and now we'll see how this race shakes out. Here they come. Here comes your leader. So as you were saying, David, 3 minutes?
Yeah, but the pit window doesn't open until 25 minutes, so we still, I think these guys must have a mechanical issue.
That must be a problem, because it is early, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. By my counting, it's 20 minutes and 30 seconds, so they've still got 5 minutes yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not good news. You never know what to expect in this endurance race. I've seen the strangest of things. I remember last year this happened. Somebody coming in early. Well, Taylor and Taylor are now leading the way. And by our estimates, we're still not at the pit window yet. So anybody who is in has got a problem. So we go back to the 17. Wheeling through the corner. Beautiful sand. We've been blessed with the weather here this weekend at Laguna. And there really is a spring in the step for the organizers here. Not just this event, but the people who run Laguna day in, day out. And I think we all agree that, Laguna has to be in place for the next 55 years. And I think it sends a real message to all the other tracks around America, how important this sort of racing is, as well as the current racing that comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And pretty much every iconic American track has a major village race on its calendar throughout the year, whether it's Sebring, Daytona, Road Atlanta. They all have, one big race a year for the village cars. Obviously, this is it for Laguna Seca, and it's great to see the sport doing so well. And I just see further growth, especially at this event. I think with Friends of Laguna taking over and their ideas and what they want to do to not only to the track, to the whole park, I think it's going to be beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, and when you look at the likes of people who are behind the scenes, like Ross Merrill, like Bruce Canepa, you know, you realize it's in good hands and good racing hands. Not just good racing drivers, but good people who are responsible businessmen and will know how to move it forward and get it out of potential pitfalls. And you know this, John, better than anybody. You know, it's a tricky game, this. 1 minute you're up, the next minute you're down.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, you know, I've had the opportunity, based on my last stint at Mazda, to be part of this facility in the community when it was Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, now WeatherTech. I think it's also pretty special that racers are part of that. Ross and Bruce and many others are actual, you know, racers, and they understand the history. And when they bring Lori, you know, Lori Eberhard is going to be a huge part of leading this facility and building relationship in the community. So kudos to her for getting the call to lead the way. Sorry,
I gulped a little bit there. Nakamura was getting a little bit trapped for a moment there in the 55, but I think managed to survive it. But he continues to fight another day, and we'll get the chance to do his pit stop, although I think he's doing the full 1 hour as we go back to the Cortina, number 2. It's a 63 Cortina. Whoa, that was that moment. Oh no, that is live. Well, did they touch?
It was very close.
It was very close if they didn't. Oh, and now he's put a wheel in the dirt.
I think he's going again.
Yeah, got it going. Well, he's either going to decide to carry on or come into the pits, because we're getting close to that window now. Yeah, about 45 seconds. So the 62 didn't get back out there. That's Andrew Waite and Danny Baker. So whatever situation they were in, I can only presume they have swapped drivers, but they may be penalised for coming in early. I don't know. We'll find out. It'll all chug out. We'll find out tomorrow, I'm sure. Back to the 09 number 2. The 09 of Matthew Polk and Scott Durnick. Scott was up here earlier, giving his views on the racing. Always interesting to get the cats that are around in the paddock. I'm so delighted that the organisers have taken that spirit of getting everybody that's in the paddock. I often think it's a thing that people miss, is that the story's in the paddock. You know, you guys are doing this week in, week out, and there's so many interesting folk. I mean, Charles Neerberg was up here, and I could sit with him for hours and talk racing. Yeah, it's a family, it's a community. To your point, a lot of special personalities. I also love the fact that, you know, senior leadership from auto manufacturers are here this weekend. Yes, they have meetings. Yes, they're going to do vehicle launches at the Quail, but many of them are here racing cars from their brand and the history. So again, as a car person, you love when car people are running racetracks and running automakers, for sure. Yeah, and it bodes pretty well for a fraternity when a CEO of a major Formula One manufacturer races the opposition.
Correct.
As of course, Zach Brown racing his own Williams F07, W07 this weekend.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yes. Jim Farley and his Cobra.
Yeah, of course.
Frank Van Meel from BMW M. Like, you got, you know, serious players in the industry that are here having a weekend off.
Yes, we joked a couple of years ago when Adrian Newey brought out to California one of his GT40s, and I said, oh, he's just looking to the future. Of course, he's now may not be part of that anymore.
Where does he end up? That's the question.
That's the question.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I actually need to head out.
Go for it.
Really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this, and thank you for
come in tomorrow and do the group you wanted to do.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that, or maybe another one. But thank you for telling all the stories to those watching around the world.
Not at all. And thank you, John Noonan, for coming in here. John Doonan. I keep saying Noonan. Why do I
That's
say
okay.
I know a Noonan, that's why. John Doonan, of course, of IMSA, running the IMSA show to great brilliance of the last few years. Oh, got the mic in there. Nice way to go out. Thanks. Appreciate it, John. So we've got 32 minutes left. We're halfway through this race. We're at the window of pit stops. David Hinton still here and enjoying this with us. Taylor and Taylor still leading. And as we said, the 62 car, we're going to see where he flashes out, because currently running 18. And it's never beyond, with everybody having to pit, that could change.
No, they're coming in now. The pit lane's looking pretty full.
Yeah. Oh yeah, now we're starting to fill up.
Yep.
So we'll wait to see how this all kind of cruises round, because the pit stops obviously throws it all up in the air. The board and the timing will go out, but we'll keep you abreast as best we can. And really is a case now of when the leaders, Taylor and Taylor, and that's 17, decide to come in. And the 09 back out on track. And that should be Scott Gurney now, if they have done their pit stop in the 65 Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint GTA. Chasing the Cortina.
So I just see car number 27 coming in. That's actually a mother and a son team. Debbie Briscoe and Chandler, I think it is.
Yeah, Chandler Briscoe, yeah.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah, I love the father and son and daughter, all that kind of stuff. It's really good. It just shows you that you can go and do something with your family that means something to both of you, and hopefully both of you enjoy it. And pretty much, I'm sure that is the case. That's a nice little battle between these two. I think the Cortina senses that he may have to get out of the way, although he's still got his foot in as they head towards the corkscrew. Oh, it's tantalizingly close as they drop down the 5-story hill that is the corkscrew. Prober now leading in the 33.
I think I'd be a little nervous passing that Cortina after what I've seen in today.
That's a car I've seen many times here, though, at Laguna. Beautifully prepared. Out of the last corner. So 12 and 23 coming out of the pits. Just keeping an eye on who's shuffling through as they pass our commentary position. That's Brian Ockley and John Norman in their Giulia TI from 63 coming out. Nice drone shot of all the cars in the pits. And David, you were saying 3 minutes is the sort of standard?
Yes, 3 minutes from pit in to pit out.
Some are refueling, some not.
Yep. So obviously they have to be in full Nomex to refuel.
Yep.
Eye protection. Somebody standing there with a fire extinguisher. So as soon as they're done and they put the cap on, then they can come over the wall and start belting into the car.
Yeah, just because it's not serious hardcore racing does not mean it's any less dangerous with fuel going into a car.
Okay, here comes the Kiwi Mini heading back out.
Yep.
Number 44.
I like that 94 too. That's a BMW 1800 TISA from 65. Very distinctive looking. George Calfo and David Roberts. Not seen one of those for a while. So half an hour just under left in this first Enduro. We're celebrating Dan Gurney, as we should, for this Saloon Car Trophy. David Hinton and Jonathan Green bringing you the action from Laguna. It's been an absolutely gorgeous day to set us in motion here for the 50th anniversary of the Historics here, sponsored by Rolex, as it has, I think, since 2000 or since the early. So that, I mean, that in itself, 24 years as a sponsor, tells you everything you need to know. Rolex have done so much for motorsport, continue to do so. Oh, this must be agonizingly slow for them, sitting there, knowing the race is going. Evan Hubachek in the Morris Cooper S, just going out of the pits. Just saw him go past, flash past our window. Back with the Alfa, the number 17 we saw earlier in action. And that's the leaders. Or was. But they've dropped down to 4th now. I'm presuming they've dropped down to 4th since stopping. nothing on our timing that tells us whether they've pitted or not. Ah, not to worry. Looking at the number 19, Tancredi d'Amour, in the Giulia GTA 65. There he is. Just going past the fellow Alpha. Chassis number 613886 for the real aficionados, built in November 9, 1965. As we go back to the light blue and white Mini. 275 of Benjamin Tarlow and Mark Hamilton-Peters. Mark Hamilton-Peters involved in the previous race, so I would have thought he's just strapping himself in, or has just got in, if he's done his stop. He may not have done yet. And that's a 64 Austin Mini Cooper. And the Alphas having a great little battle out there between them. Back out of the pits goes the 71 of Jonathan Burke. Another GTA. So the dominance is definitely in terms of numbers with Alpha. And probably, I would say, Alphas after that, and then Minis.
So I see Jenson Button's moved up to 6 now. He's making some gains on Andrew Waite and Danny Baker, the ones who pitted early. I have a feeling they'll get a penalty for that early pit stop.
Yeah, you presume so, wouldn't you? Here comes one of the other Minis, just out the corner of my eye. See on the shot there, just gone past our commentary position. Boy, these two have been really going at it the last couple of laps. This is great. Into Andretti, side by side. Oh, around the outside, the slingshot. Get the inside line for the next corner. Got to hold it in, though. Brave. Nicely done. Yeah, that's one of my favorite moves here. And that puts him, that's Taylor and Taylor, back into the lead. So that move was the move for the lead, and it was done in classic Laguna style at Andretti. So Taylor and Taylor were, what, 4th position a moment ago, but now leading after that overtake. There's another one of the Minis, the 68.
Okay, the pit window is now closed.
Okay.
So if you come in after this, you will get a penalty.
Gary Green it was in that 68. Just trying to find him, 65. Austin Mini Cooper, a lot of 65, 66, and 67 cars out here today. Yeah, it's a good idea. Button's now, what, 5th place, and we're presuming it is Jenson to bring it home. I'm presuming Jenson was named after the Jenson Interceptor.
Yeah, maybe.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the only other Jenson I know. Great name.
So Jenson and Maz just purchased that car literally like a month ago. Had it shipped from Florida, did a test in it, and brought it in and decided to run this race.
How do you find a car like that? I mean, where do you know?
Kind of a friend of a friend had it for sale, and I think they got in touch with him and managed to purchase it.
That's great news.
It's on the screen right now. It's a great little car.
Yeah, no doubt. Mars and Fawes, Jenson Button then in that 67 Alfa Romeo. Just a month ago they bought it. And he is hooning around it. He may not know Laguna because he's not raced here before, but looks like he's getting the hang of it. The way Jenson's going, they'll be naming corners after him soon. Still at the top of his game. Racing a full season in WEC, his first season in WEC. He's done some one-offs now and again, but it's a little different than his Joe's Porsche, I would have said.
I would think so. He just set his best lap time of the race, the 150.4, so he's starting to get into his rhythm, as they say.
He's getting in the rhythm. It's a delight to have him here for Rolex, for just the audience, and the fact that he is a current top of his game, world-class driver, an ex-world champion, and still very much, you know, one of the top pundits in Formula One, giving his opinion on the current crop, always with good insight. But, you know, if Jensen says it was a bad move, I tend to believe it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. He actually showed up a little late for this event and missed the driver's meeting, so I had to give him his own personal driver's meeting. He had all sorts of questions on what about this, what about that, so he's serious.
I bet that was fun.
Yeah, he's a true gentleman, he really is.
So, but he was thinking, he was giving it a hard thought.
Oh yeah. I had to do the same for Ricky Taylor. So
of course, he just got here, didn't he? Yeah.
So I said to Ricky, I said, you know what the blue flag means? He goes, yeah, it's the passing flag. I said, no, there's a race going on and you're not in it.
Oh, ouch. Ow. How did he take that?
He laughed. He said, I'm going to use that one in the future.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an overtaking.
The Jordan brothers are wonderful, wonderful people, and they really enjoy the sport of vintage racing. Jordan's been out here, driven a Corvette, and now his brother's out here for his first race at Laguna Seca in an historic car, so he's loving it.
Is this really his first race out here?
In the historic car.
In the historics, yeah. That's great. So you kind of presume that they would do, given their background, they would probably do a little bit of this, but they've been kind of busy.
Ricky's asked about it in the past, but I think it's been due to contracts. It's hard.
Yes, yeah.
Especially during the season.
Yeah, that's the trouble. When you are at the top of the game, you're kind of contracted in, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now looking at number 63 yet again. And at the moment, we think that William and Chet Taylor are leading the way from Andrew Waite and Danny Baker. Fuller, Hoff. Probert now down to 4th place, having led. Jensen Button up to 5th now, and he keeps putting in his fastest lap, or has done in the last couple of laps.
I think he's going to hit the 49s here soon.
Evan Hubchak, is that the right pronunciation?
Yep.
Okay. In the 24, is currently in 6th position. We've got 20 minutes to go in our endurance race. Thanks for a great job by our cameraman at Greenlight Television. Up there on the hoists at the top of Laguna, high over the track, and looking down on the famous corkscrew as out pops the number 18. It's passing another one of the minis.
I think that picture could be from any racetrack in the world.
Yeah, it really could. That's Kyle Breslow in that number 18 mini. Austin Mini Cooper S in the beautiful green colors, and the old British license plate on the front, and I'm sure on the back. There it is. In Britain, we denote, I think it's the A tells you where your era is, right? Sort of A, B, C, and then onwards, right? So at least it used to be.
Yeah, I'm sure things have changed now. So Jensen did break into a 49 that lap.
Ah, he's pushing. I just love watching the minis. They stick to the ground. It's like watching Scalextric.
Yeah.
It's like they don't move. All the other cars sort of swift from side, move from side to side, but not the minis. It's like they got downforce that nobody knew about.
Yeah.
Now Nakamura in the 55, currently 8th. He was the one who had the moment where they almost came together, and then I think he did spin round. Out of the corkscrew comes the 23. Now, is that the 23A of Schifferle? Yeah, Matt Schifferle in the 23A.
So the Taylors, according to this, have a 17-second lead now.
No, it wasn't Schifferle, excuse me. That was the Austin Mini Cooper of Mark Emmett and Tim Moser. and it's one of a limited number of 67 Mark IIs in North America, and has pretty much raced up and down the West Coast in SVRA, HSRA, and CSRG events. And prepared by Huffaker Engineering. Where are Huffaker based then? I mean, I know here, but...
Sis Point.
Okay.
Yeah. And they also are taking care of, I think, probably 15 cars.
Wow.
They're a big team.
Very big. And a great history, of course.
Yeah.
Oh. There'll be some tired folks coming out of there after an hour of this sort of saloon racing. Suspensions in these, not the most sophisticated. Sound great though, don't they?
They certainly do.
Down the hill through Rainey and into turn 10. This car you're watching currently in 4th position with Timothy Probert at the wheel. No driver change, but he did do his pit stop. He's out the last turn, turn 11, gets a little wiggle on.
Great to see a Cortina up there.
Yes. Well, you must be thinking what I'm thinking, which is what are we doing talking about minis and Cortinas here in the middle of California? I love it. I love the reaction that they have to British saloon cars. I mean, not race cars. I mean, yes, they love the race cars. And Jaguars have come here and obviously Ferraris. But to give the respect to the saloon cars that, you know, people in England probably wouldn't think too much of.
No, something totally different for this community, should we say.
Yeah. But then again, I suppose if we saw a bunch of Corvettes show up at Brands Hatch, we'd be just enamored too.
Yeah.
So that 17 Alpha, who was in an early battle with another Alpha early on, has dropped off a little bit. Or this is another Alpha he's catching up with. I think it's the latter, to be honest.
So the Nakamura car,
yeah.
he was actually entered in a Lotus Cortina for this race, but he had a mechanical issue, and he had the Alfa Romeo in another group, but it still fitted in within this group and said, can we switch cars? So we allowed him to run the Alfa instead of the Cortina, but they're going to get parts shipped in and try and get the Cortina out for tomorrow's sprint race.
So I mean, obviously you have a cut-off initially so that you can organize yourselves,
yeah.
But you can make exceptions like that, and you can be a little bit more
lenient,
yeah.
Especially with a guy already got a qualifying time in the car. He was in the John Morton group this morning.
Oh, right, okay,
yeah.
So yeah. So it's all ready to go.
Yeah.
And at that point, the groups are up to you, really, at that point, yeah.
I think we had about 45 applications for this race, and we had to try and narrow it down to 35, which is not an easy job.
No, well, you can't really have much more than 35, can you?
It's a stretch to go much more than that.
Yeah.
But we got, I think, 35 really good cars in this race. But he's really pushing that thing, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Well, I noticed that in the last few laps, everybody's sort of really pushing on.
Yeah.
Try and gain some more spaces. Interestingly, Button's car, the car ahead of him, Timothy Probert, just did his fastest lap on lap 23 at 150.3, so he's maintaining good pace. The Rahal straight. And down the formidable corkscrew one more time.
And the car in 9th place, Diamori, actually Martin Lauber was a late entry as a co-driver in that car, and Martin was the second driver, so I think he'll be happy getting in the top 10.
So he'll be at the wheel now, will he? Yeah.
Yes, he was in the Formula 1 race.
Yes, he was, yeah. Yeah, he's another regular to the reunion.
Yep.
Brought his son here last year, I remember. Now, this is second place, man. 62 of Waite & Baker. They led early on. And this is the car built from new in 66 and was raced by Randy Unsby as part of a three-car team with his brother. And it was purchased and restored by Mini legend Don Racine, who we mentioned earlier. Don Racine pretty much responsible for so many of the minis out there, right?
Yep. If he doesn't prepare the car, he's normally supplying the engines to the other people.
Yeah, you've got a problem here at this event
Yeah.
with your Mini.
Yeah.
Go see Don.
I'm not sure if he still owns Mini and Mania or not, but that was his company.
Yeah, that was his company, yeah. I want a right-hand Mini, so me and my Labrador can go down the highway in Texas and think that my Labrador's driving.
Yeah.
That would turn a few heads. But I think the idea of a Mini in Texas, I can park anywhere.
Yeah. Probably got golf carts bigger than that in Texas.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. In fact, they do.
Some real close battles going on here.
Yeah, there are some really good battles. Fuller and Hoff now up to third. Button still fifth. Probert ahead. But this is where traffic is a real big part of the end of an enduro race, because you don't know who you're coming up on. They don't know what part of the race you're in. And they do their best to keep out your way. We see it here.
The other thing is you don't know who's driving the car anymore.
Right. Yeah, good point. Yeah, suddenly the likes of Ricky Taylor show up, or Jenson Button, you don't know what's behind you. So we're getting down to the last 10 minutes of our enduro. The final race of the day, the Dan Gurney Trophy. And Saloon Car Enduro, as we're calling it. Blue flags waving now. And it's starting to get a little serious, as they all want the laurels. I bet when this rolled off the factory floor in England, they didn't expect it to be racing here in 2024. It's great. It's a great homage to what Britain has produced. I don't think we're as proud of our cars as perhaps they get reverence here in the States. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
We grew up in an era where the British industry was kind of dying on its feet, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The late 70s, it was pretty dire.
Yeah.
Coming out things like the Austin Maxi and Morris Marina. It's like, good
Ugh.
grief.
And then they sold them all.
Yeah.
So Chet Taylor and William Taylor doing the business at the moment. But keep an eye on Wayne Baker, although we do think they may have a penalty, right?
Yes, I think they pitted too
They've got
early.
to, yeah.
But that'll be assessed after the race.
Yes. And so therefore Rob Fuller and Greg Hoff should have a chance at getting second place out of this. It's a nice shot. Looking down into the valley. Salinas in the background, and of course the Monterey Peninsula.
George Calfo in his teaser going down the hill, the four-door BMW. Looks like he's an Uber.
Yeah, it's a big car.
It is. Heavy car, too.
Yeah, looks it.
He's doing him and Dave Roberts are doing a great job.
So we want just one trick in the tail here. A nice little fight towards the end. Is that the Fuller and Hoff shot car at third place? Yeah.
Yep, 44X.
Kiwi colours on. Ah, right-hand drive too. Do many get converted to left-hand drive?
A few, I think. But I think, like you said, it's kind of a novelty.
Yeah.
I actually have a right-hand drive Mini Cooper Mark II. And I love it just being on the right side. I think, it's so different over here.
Does it freak a few people out?
Yeah, a little bit.
I bet.
Yeah. I'll have to borrow a dog and put it in the passenger side.
Yeah, but you've got to get a fake steering wheel as well.
Yeah, right.
All right, we're getting down to the closing stages. You're watching third place man Fuller and Hoff. Third place man, I should say, trying to chase down Wayton Baker in second place. The gap, well, it's actually not too much, is it? So it's possible for sure. He is pushing that Mini. Look at it, getting the rear end out.
It's the first time I've got to see the aerial views.
Yeah, it's a much more interesting way of following a race, I think, because it really suddenly when you get lost, you go back up and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's seeing the paddock and all the motorhomes around the track.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different perspective. I love it. Oh, side by side into Andretti again. Just squeaking through.
Oh, he went a bit wide.
One. Kept it on. 3 wheels for a minute, maybe. He's had a good run. He's pushing that car. He's doing a good job. A few more people. Evan Hubchak just did his fastest lap at 1:51.1 on lap 26. Wait a minute. Whoa.
Well, the Alpha's not giving up.
Not quite. So the 62 has dropped back. That's big news. So here is the trick of the tail I was talking about, because that's the Wade Baker car, and it's dropped back now. And it's also, it's just ahead of the Dream car, so the number 68, and that's in 9th place. So a little bit of a surprise, but it looked like it was a car that was going to be penalized anyway.
But just got into the 48s, so he's still trying. He's not giving up yet.
He's going for the fastest lap then.
Yeah.
There's no extra point, Jensen. There's no extra point. The point is he just is a racing driver. Doesn't matter what he's driving. It's delightful to have luminaries like him enjoying it and coming back to grassroots racing. Fantastic. You know, he was saying earlier in commentary, I think I was saying to Scott Pruitt, I think when a lot of racing drivers are in their heyday, at the top of their game, they don't have a lot of time to enjoy the sport or see how much joy they bring to the fans of the sport. And Scott was admitting that, you know, it's only in retirement that he really has understood what some of the cars he drove meant, some of the drives he had meant to fans, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's true of Jensen and many other drivers. I mean, you look at Verstappen right now, it's going to be years before he really, not understands, but gets an understanding of what he was part of.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I've been to the Amelia Island concourse quite a few times, and when they honor a racer and they put all their cars, whether it's Handstock or Yokomasu, whoever it was, and they put all their cars out on the fairway and they walk up and see them all, a lot of them get very emotional.
I can imagine. I can well imagine.
The only time they get to see the Formula One car they drove, or the sports car, or the Indy car, and it's all there laid out.
It's their life's work, quite literally. It's like a book. Unbelievable. Yeah, very, very poignant. Well, closing stages here. We're at the Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion, and it has been a fantastic start to the weekend. David Hinton alongside me, and so far so good. Were you happy with the way it was coming together before, and now it's coming to fruition?
It is. You know, we work on this event pretty much for a whole year. You know, between the car selection and planning the schedule and all the off-track activities, and then once you get in and you see the cars line up on the grid, you're like, oh yeah, I remember selecting that car, or that was one we discussed. It's like, just to see it all come together, it's quite breathtaking, to be honest. Yeah,
I saw Barry wandering around this morning back to me, and I was just looking at all the cars, and they were all covered at 7 this morning, and it was like Christmas, you know, you're like, ooh, what's under there, you know, what's in that present, you know. Lovely. How many staff do you have working on the event then?
So Laguna has about, their whole staff, but then we have what we call the advisory committee. I think there's 6 of us on it. You know, Bruce Canepa, Scott George from the Revs Institute, Chris McAllister, who races several cars, Andy Prill. So there's a group of us, and we do a meeting every 2 weeks, and we do all the planning for the event. And you know, it goes on for months and months. It's a lot of work, but it's very enjoyable.
But a lot of responsibility too now. I mean, you can't stop at 50. You know, now the pressure's on to keep it and to move it forward. I love the touches of modernity sometimes, to see new cars, to see what's happening, or when a manufacturer is launching a car, you can put that out there and maybe exhibition it. You know, you've got the likes of Jim Farley who are around to take a phone call from you and go, oh, yeah, we can do that for you. You know.
Yeah, we have some major news for next year for the feature. They'll be announced on Saturday afternoon. It's going to be, next year is going to be mega. When you hear what the feature's going to be, you're like, oh, wow.
Now I'm excited because, like I said, you can't go to 51 and then not make it a good one. So, yes.
No, I think next year's going to be the best ever.
Well, the white flag was out last lap, and we're looking at the leader. Chet Taylor and William Taylor in their Alpha, and it's been a pretty good run, to say the least.
Still drifting that car through the corners.
Absolutely. Bowers and Button now up to 4th position. And that's mainly because the 62 has dropped down, so that's basically gaining a place.
John Fiber moved into 10th place. John actually sits on the board of Friends of Laguna. So that's great for him.
He's had a busy day today.
Yeah, he's in a Lotus Cortina.
Final lap then of the day. The Dan Gurney Enduro. White flag being waved for the back markers. A little signal. You go left, mate. I got you. Down the corkscrew for the last time then. Comes the 17. Pretty good run for him. He had some good battles throughout. So then, last corner for the Taylors, and it was tailor-made, quite literally. Brilliant run. Taking the checkered flag for the Enduro here to win the first Enduro race of the weekend. The hand goes out, and the Alfa Romeo is the winner here of our Dan Gurney Saloon Car Race, endurance race, the first of 2 this weekend. Will it be the same distance tomorrow, or will it be?
No, tomorrow's going to be a sprint race.
Sprint race.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yep. We have a pretty packed schedule tomorrow, so we had to limit it to just this endurance race.
Fair enough. All good, though. Now you got me thinking about next year. Yeah. So, yeah, as David says, we've got a full day of all of the cars that you've seen in action today. If you've been with us throughout the day or have just dropped in and out of the reunion for 2024, I hope you've enjoyed some of the action that we brought you and some of the guests that we brought up here. My thanks to David Hinton and to John Doonan for coming up here and being part of this last race, the Dan Gurney Enduro. And we'll have more of the same as all of these groups will be out in action, and we'll have a few special exhibitions and surprises for you. So don't go away. Join us on the live feed tomorrow. But that concludes our action from Laguna Seca today. The sun is going down here on the Monterey Peninsula. It's time to book the dinner plans, take a shower, and do it all again tomorrow. Thanks, David. We'll see you tomorrow. Join us bright and early as we do the full group, all 13 and exhibitions tomorrow here from the Rolex Monterey Reunion.